Snow pounded against Daniel's windshield, a relentless barrage that blurred the world beyond the glass. His hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white not just from the cold but from the weight of everything pressing down on him. The gas gauge hovered just above empty, a silent accusation of his dwindling options. His wallet, tucked in the center console, was even emptier, just a few crumpled receipts and a single-dollar bill. In the backseat, his 5-year-old son, Liam, shivered beneath a thin, threadbare blanket, his small body curled into a ball. The car's heater had given up days ago, leaving them at the mercy of the biting winter night. Daniel's breath fogged the air inside the sedan, a reminder of how close they were to freezing. He was about to pull onto the highway, the dim hope of making it home flickering in his chest, when he spotted it, a car stranded on the shoulder, its hazard lights pulsing weakly through the storm. A figure sat inside, barely visible through the snow-smeared windows. A woman, alone, her posture radiating desperation. Helping her meant burning the last of his gas, the last of his fragile resources. Driving away, though, that felt impossible. Something deep inside him, a stubborn remnant of the man he used to be, refused to let him abandon her. Daniel exhaled, his breath clouding the windshield further. He glanced at Liam in the rearview mirror, the boy's pale face barely visible under the blanket. "Stay warm, buddy," he whispered, though he knew the words were more for himself. He pulled the sedan over, its engine groaning in protest, and stepped out into the freezing night. The wind howled, slicing through his worn jacket as he trudged toward the stranded car. Snow had piled up around its tires, half burying the vehicle. The driver's window cracked open, revealing a woman with wide, panicked eyes. She was wrapped in a thick coat, but her hands trembled as they clutched the steering wheel. "Oh, thank God," she breathed, her voice shaky. "My car just died. No heat, no signal. I've been stuck here for hours." Daniel glanced at her hands. Her fingers were red, the early signs of frostbite creeping in. Hypothermia would take her soon if she stayed out here. He could walk away, pretend he'd never seen her, but that wasn't who he was. Not yet, anyway, no matter how much the world had tried to break him. "Come on," he said, opening his passenger door. "It's freezing. Get in." She hesitated, her eyes flicking over him as if weighing her options. "I don't have any cash on me." Daniel almost laughed, the irony biting. "I'm not a taxi service. Just get in before you freeze." She studied him for a moment longer, her gaze wary but desperate. Then, gathering her purse, she stepped out into the storm. The wind slammed into her, nearly knocking her off balance, and Daniel reached out instinctively, steadying her arm. She was light, almost fragile, but there was something about her, her posture, her too clean coat, that felt out of place in this desolate, snow-choked nowhere. She climbed into his car, shivering violently, and murmured, "I'm Olivia." "Daniel," he replied, turning the key. The engine coughed, sputtered, then roared to life. "Where were you headed?" She let out a short, humorless laugh. "Nowhere, apparently." He pulled back onto the road, the tires crunching through fresh snow. His thoughts churned, frustration, exhaustion, and a gnawing regret. He'd just burned precious gas to help a stranger, with no guarantee he'd make it home to Liam. The silence in the car was heavy, broken only by the hum of the struggling engine and the occasional rustle of Liam shifting in the backseat. Daniel stole a glance at Olivia. She was rubbing her hands together, her breath fogging the window. Her face was pale, but her eyes were sharp, scanning the road ahead as if expecting something. "You live around here?" he asked, more to distract himself than out of curiosity. She hesitated. "Not really. I was just passing through. In a storm like this." He raised an eyebrow. A small smile tugged at her lips, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Bad timing, I guess." Daniel didn't push. He'd learned long ago that people kept secrets for a reason. He had his own, debts piling up, a job lost to layoffs, a landlord breathing down his neck. The world hadn't been kind to him, and he'd stopped expecting it to be. Still, something about Olivia's guarded demeanor set him on edge. She wasn't just a stranded traveler. There was more to her story, but he wasn't sure he wanted to know it. A few miles down the road, the gas light flickered on. Daniel's stomach twisted. He'd known it was coming, but seeing it lit up in orange felt like a punch to the gut. No money, no gas, no way to call for help. The snowstorm was only getting worse, the wind rocking the car as visibility dropped to near zero. He gripped the wheel tighter, his mind racing for a solution that didn't exist. As if sensing his panic, Olivia spoke. "You look worried." He let out a slow breath. "I'm out of gas. Was supposed to make it home, but now," he shook his head, the words bitter. Admitting it out loud made it worse. He was a father who couldn't even get his son home. Olivia sat up straighter. "Wait, there was a gas station about a mile back. We could walk there. In this storm." Daniel let out a humorless laugh. "That's a good way to get frostbite. Then let me help." She reached into her purse and pulled out a black credit card, its surface sleek and unmarked. "I'll cover it." Daniel stared at the card, his pride screaming at him to refuse. He wasn't a charity case, not yet. But then he thought of Liam, curled up under that thin blanket, waiting for his dad to make things right. After a long pause, he exhaled. "Fine, but I'm paying you back." A knowing smile crossed Olivia's lips, but she said nothing. They turned around, the car limping back toward the gas station. Just as they reached it, the engine sputtered and died, coasting to a stop at the pump. Daniel rubbed his temples, the weight of the night pressing harder. Olivia didn't hesitate. She stepped out, braving the wind, and disappeared into the small, fluorescent-lit store. Minutes later, she returned, holding a receipt. "Filled the tank. You're good to go." Daniel swallowed hard, his pride stinging. "Thank you," he muttered, forcing the words out. As they pulled back onto the road, something shifted. Olivia seemed different, too calm, too prepared. Who was she, really? He opened his mouth to ask, but before he could, headlights appeared in the rearview mirror, bright, aggressive, and closing in fast. His pulse quickened. This wasn't a coincidence. "Do you know them?" he asked, keeping his voice steady. Olivia turned, her expression shifting from confusion to something darker, fear, maybe. "No," she said, but her fingers clenched her coat, betraying her. The car behind them swerved, nearly clipping their bumper. Daniel cursed, fighting to keep control on the slick road. "They're not just passing by." Olivia exhaled sharply. "Daniel, I need you to trust me. If I tell you to turn, turn. No questions." His jaw tightened, but he nodded. He didn't like being in the dark, but survival came first. "Turn left, now," she shouted. Daniel yanked the wheel, the car skidding onto an unplowed back road. The tires fought for traction as he floored the gas, snow kicking up behind them. The headlights in the mirror hesitated, then followed. "They're still coming," he said through gritted teeth. Olivia pulled out her phone, typing rapidly. "Just keep driving." The road narrowed, winding through dense, snow-laden trees. One wrong move, and they'd slide into a ditch with no way out. Daniel's knuckles whitened on the wheel. He stole a glance at Olivia. She was calm, too calm for someone being chased in a blizzard. "Who are you?" he demanded. She didn't answer. Her phone buzzed, and she exhaled in relief. "Take the next right." "Where does it go?" "Just do it." Something in her voice made him obey. He turned sharply, the car bouncing over uneven ground. For a few agonizing seconds, the headlights behind them disappeared. Then, the pursuing car sped past, missing their hiding spot. Daniel let out a shaky breath. "Okay, now you're going to tell me what's going on." Olivia looked down, choosing her words carefully. Then she met his gaze. "I'm not just a stranded traveler, Daniel. And I wasn't just passing through." He waited, tension coiling in his chest. "I'm Olivia Carter," she said, her voice firm. "As in Carter Industries. My father is Charles Carter." Daniel blinked. Carter Industries was a titan. Real estate, tech, banking, they had their hands in everything. Charles Carter was a name whispered in boardrooms and newsrooms alike, a man who moved markets with a single phone call. "You're joking." She shook her head. "I was trying to disappear. But now they know I'm gone." "Who's they?" "The people chasing us," she said. "They work for my father. He doesn't let people walk away." Daniel's stomach dropped. He'd thought he was helping a stranded woman, but now he was caught in something far bigger, something dangerous. Before he could respond, Olivia's phone buzzed again. She glanced at the screen and paled. "They found us." Headlights appeared ahead, cutting through the storm. A sleek black SUV skidded onto the icy road, blocking their path. Its engine rumbled like a predator, its tinted windows hiding whoever was inside. "They're here," Olivia whispered, gripping the door handle. Daniel's mind raced. He'd been in tough spots before, eviction notices, empty bank accounts, nights wondering how he'd feed Liam, but this was different. He had no money, no backup, just a half-broken car, an empty wallet, and a billionaire's daughter in his passenger seat. The SUV's driver's side door opened, and a tall man stepped out, dressed in black, his expression unreadable. He didn't look like the type to negotiate. "Olivia," he called, his voice cutting through the wind. "It's time to go home." She tensed. "I'm not going back." The man sighed, as if he'd heard it before. "Your father's done playing games. Come willingly, or this gets messy." Daniel's hands clenched into fists. He didn't know Olivia's full story, but he recognized the fear in her eyes, the same fear he'd felt when the world had stripped him bare. "She said she's not going," he said, surprised at his own steadiness. The man turned his gaze to Daniel, cold and assessing. "And you are someone who doesn't like bullies." A slow smirk crossed the man's face. "That's cute. But this isn't your fight." He took a step forward. Olivia moved fast, pulling a small, sleek device from her coat. With a press of a button, an alarm blared from the SUV. The man froze. "What did you do?" he demanded. "I activated a tracker," Olivia said, her voice steady. "If anything happens to me, the media gets everything, every secret my father's tried to bury." The man's jaw clenched. "You're bluffing. Try me." For a long moment, no one moved. The SUV's engine hummed, the wind howled, and Daniel's breath came in frozen bursts. Then the man sighed and stepped back. "You've made your point," he muttered. "For now." He climbed back into the SUV, its tires spinning against the ice before it reversed and vanished into the storm. Daniel exhaled, his heart still pounding. What just happened? Olivia's lips curved into a small, exhausted smile. "I bought us time." Daniel shook his head, still processing. "Where do we go now?" She hesitated, her confidence faltering for the first time. "I don't know." Silence settled between them. Daniel glanced at Liam, still asleep in the backseat, oblivious to the chaos. Then he did something unexpected, he pulled the car back onto the road. "Then let's figure it out together." Olivia turned to him, something unreadable in her gaze. For the first time in years, Daniel felt a spark of something he'd thought was gone, hope. They drove in silence, the snow still falling but the immediate danger gone, for now. Daniel's mind churned with questions. Why was Olivia running? What secrets was she carrying? And how had he, a broke single dad, ended up in the middle of a billionaire's power play? He didn't have answers, but one thing was clear, Olivia wasn't safe, and neither were they. "Where's home for you?" Olivia asked, breaking the silence. Daniel hesitated. Home was a cramped apartment with peeling paint and a landlord who'd been threatening eviction for weeks. "Not far," he said vaguely. "What about you? Where were you really going?" She looked out the window, her reflection ghostly in the glass. "Somewhere my father can't find me. He controls everything. My life, my choices. I thought I could disappear, start over." Daniel nodded, understanding more than he wanted to. He'd never had wealth or power, but he knew what it felt like to be trapped. "And those guys back there? His enforcers," she said quietly. "They make sure his world stays in order. I was supposed to stay in line, marry who he chose, play the perfect daughter. But I couldn't." Daniel glanced at her. "So you ran." She nodded. "I've been planning it for months. Stashed money, a new identity. But I underestimated how far he'd go to bring me back." The weight of her words settled over him. This wasn't just about a stranded car or a snowstorm. He'd stumbled into a war between a daughter and a man who owned half the world. "What's your next move?" "I need to get to a safe house," she said. "It's a few hours from here, if we can make it. After that, I don't know." Daniel tightened his grip on the wheel. "We'll make it." The road stretched on, the storm unrelenting. Liam stirred in the backseat, murmuring softly. Daniel's heart ached. He'd promised his son a better life, but here he was, driving through a blizzard with no plan and a stranger who'd just upended his world. Yet, for reasons he couldn't explain, he felt more alive than he had in years. As the first light of dawn broke through the snow, Olivia spoke again. "You didn't have to help me, you know. Most people wouldn't have." Daniel shrugged. "Most people haven't lost everything. Makes you see things differently." She studied him, her eyes softening. "Maybe we're not so different, then." The road ahead was uncertain, the danger far from over. But as the snow fell and the car hummed along, Daniel felt something shift inside him. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't just surviving. He was fighting, for Liam, for Olivia, and maybe, just maybe, for himself.